I just want to introduce Dennis Watts. Dennis has worked with NASA and Northrop and McDonnell Douglas, a lot of different companies. He's worked on the space shuttle and the space station, and he's been particularly interested in environmental remediation. And he's got some amazing things. I've known Dennis for 10 years. We've been involved with a lot of other kinds of causes and dealing with the corporate shadow government and all kinds of ugly things. But now it's just wonderful to see what is possible to change, at least for the planet. So Dennis?
Okay, thank you. Wow, we got a nice crowd out here tonight. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come out and allow me to share some of my information with you. I mean, a lot of people, I think, kind of got an idea that I'm across the board on many different subjects and many different disciplines. The bottom line is my gift is solving hard problems, as you probably figured out. And as a result of that particular gift, I've been hammered, let's say, like forged like steel, wherein you just keep hammering it and it gets stronger and stronger over time. And as a result of me working with NASA, and working with the Pentagon, and working with DARPA on some of the super hard projects that this planet has provided, like the space shuttle, like the International Space Station, and some of these one-of-a-kind weird satellite systems I wish I could share with you, but they're secret. I'd have to destroy you if I told you about it. But nonetheless, what it did was it allowed me the ability to look at a challenge or problem and then break it down and really come up with solutions that were viable. Well, after I retired, after 40 years of being in that field, I'm retired now, and as a result, I decided to change over and use my talent or my gift in the field of environmental, because I'm into health deep. And most people, I think, that know me know that I'm into health very, very deeply. And what has happened in essence is, after all the studies, after all the research, I found that if the earth is not healthy, clean, and non-toxic, I don't care what we do, it's going to be hard to hold our health together. How many vitamins we take and how many minerals we take, if the earth is not supporting us because it's too toxic, it's going to be a waste. So whenever we have high background levels of radiation, for instance, that's a danger sign. I know that. Immediately, whenever we heard about, or I heard about the fact that Fukushima, Japan had a major accident with this tsunami going through and destroying 1, 2, 3, 4 reactors, that was, oh, we're in trouble. Within a month, I put together a presentation and was trying to present it to the White House because I knew I was going to need the military in order to get this problem resolved. Because I'm aware of some of the stuff they got floating around in space that I could use. And so I figured if the White House told the DOD, I would get some cooperation. No. Yeah, you're right. Well, that's what what happened. They just kind of like ignored it. Well, what happened was I sent the information directly to DOD, to the Joint Chiefs, in order for consideration. It got to them. I found connections to get to them, but I guess they went to their scientists and said, "Is this for real?" And they said, "I never heard of it." Yeah. And then they just dismissed it. But what has happened is my research allows me to go around the country and find all kinds of super geniuses. I call them hyper geniuses in some cases, because sometimes their brain only works in one frequency, so to speak, and you have to be extremely patient to work with them. And as a result, they had come up with solutions on how to remediate radiation within 72 hours. Some people within 20 minutes. And right now, what the solution is for radiation, let's bury it in the earth and just let it sit. And then what happens? It eventually gets out. And then it just circulates into the surrounding environment, poisoning us unknowingly, because you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't feel it. It's just something that's just wearing on your system. Now, what I want to do here is kind of share with you what happened so that I can just bring you up to speed. Then I want to take you with the proposals that I gave to the White House and said, here's what we need to do to go after this problem. And then I want to show you what has happened as a result of getting ignored. And then I want to also give you solutions on what you can do so that you can protect yourself on a moment-to-moment, day-by-day basis. That's why we said radiation to radiance. You got part of the solution with the humic and fulvic acid. I've got some other solution sets that I want to bring to your attention as well so that you can walk away, and I hope you follow the instructions in the notes saying bring your notebook, and then we will hopefully allow you to walk away, because I don't want you running away from here with your hair on fire in terror. Oh no, we're all going to die. I don't want to create that environment at all. Are you with me on that? Okay. This is just a situation to help you understand what's going on and to what extent you do have control if you are aware. It's unfortunate that most people are unaware because no one wants to talk about it in the mainstream media. And let's move on from there. But let me just quickly show you what's going on here. I just want to quickly get you in shape with understanding what happened. This is reactors 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the Fukushima site. Right out here is the Pacific Ocean. That way is north. Okay? This is what happened on March 11th. Back in 2011, they really went and basically disintegrated whenever too much hydrogen built up in these particular facilities. Now, number 2 didn't blow up that bad because the concussion from these two broke the windows, and then the pressure wasn't able to build up as intensely. So as a result, it didn't go completely in the kaboom level. But number 4 here, because this stack here is shared by 3, it did build up pressure and it blew its top. Now what happened as a result is that the fuel rods that were in there, the ones that were stored and the ones that were actually in the containment, they were not getting enough water to keep them cool. They went critical. They started to melt. When that happened, it goes through containment number 1. And if you don't get it cooled, it can go through the floor, through containment 2, into the earth. And I believe that in essence what went on, but no one wanted to talk about that. And as a result, everybody was giving a false sense of, we got it under control, ladies and gentlemen, just look the other way. But in reality, that was not the case. Not going to get into nuclear physics right now, but I just wanted you to have a picture in your mind of what a physical reactor kind of looks like. Here's what that container that contains about 200 to 500 pounds of fuel rods. This is the one that got damaged. The base, as you can see, it's all concrete. But when they had the earthquake, that base got cracked. So when they are trying to cool this, water goes through the cracks and out into the ocean. Are you understanding? Right. Okay. So that's in essence what happened, and for all 4 of those reactors, so that you will have an idea. Here is a picture of the actual explosions, hydrogen explosions that caused Fukushima to be such a gigantic wreck. And what has happened in essence is that, how can I say this? This is one of the greatest disasters in the history of the world. Bottom line, okay? And so we just need to understand it from that perspective. This was not a mild situation. This even makes Chernobyl look like a picnic for all intent and purpose. And so once we understand that, let's go in and understand the next level of what in fact was going on. Right now, they have in these particular facilities somewhere around 500 pounds of plutonium. That is one of the most toxic elements on the planet. You just need a little tiny microgram of that to get into your system, and your life goes sideways immediately. And this kind of stuff was blowing up over there. So it got into the ground, it's in the surrounding area, and people are tracking it on their shoes and things. So going into this area is highly toxic, highly poisonous. And that'll kind of give you an idea. I did find some information to show what was in those particular reactors at the time of the explosion. You see 50 tons, 81 tons, 88. That's a lot of tonnage of fuel rods. And if they went through some sort of critical situation, that's going to affect the whole planet, not just Fukushima.
It already happened.
Those buildings
Yes.
you showed earlier were reactors, and that other list you just showed had 8.
6.
There was 5 and 6, but they didn't get exploded. They're a part of the Fukushima Daiichi Nuclear Power Plant site. I think they're still functional, as a matter of fact. So we have to be kind of careful with our solution set such that we don't disrupt that, otherwise Tokyo might go dark. I know some people, we have a solution where we've learned that hydrogen, for instance, can remediate radiation in about 20 minutes. I learned that from Mr. John Hutchison and Nancy Hutchison up in Oregon. And they're willing to just give me that technology. All I got to do is go up and take notes. And so that is going to be one of the things. But I found out they did give this technology to someone in Arizona. They set it up. They turned it on. And it was cleaning up the radiation, but it went too far. And it shut down the nuclear power plant. That's called a national security issue.
Why is it affected the nuclear power plant?
Why did it?
Explain the process that they were using to clean up the.
Well, I don't want to, I'm sorry, I will not be able to go into why it did that. All I can tell you is that they've discovered that hydrogen has this ability, but what's really unique about this particular solution is that he can put it on a tree, that frequency, just the frequency, not the elemental hydrogen, the frequency of elemental hydrogen. He can put it on a tree, and that tree will act like an antenna and radiate it out into the surrounding environment, and then that tree will train other trees to radiate that frequency as well. So it carries on into the environment. That's how we clear wide swaths of radiation out of an environment. Now, you might ask, well, Dennis, how did you come up with this thing about hydrogen? Like I said, my friend John Hutchison, he's like one of those hyper savant geniuses. He's the one that, if you ever saw the YouTube, had 75-pound cannonballs just floating in midair.
The Hutchinson effect.
Yes, the Hutchison effect.
Yeah.
People in Arizona, are they still here?
Yes, they're still here. It's just like I said, the government knows about it, and as a result, it's a national security issue. But now keep in mind, what I want you to know is that this is part of a solution because we got a whole Pacific Ocean to work with. And as a result, that's why I need the military to be aware so that their submarines and aircraft carriers, when we're trying to fix the Pacific Ocean, don't get hampered by this.
Washington, the state of Washington and Oregon that now announced that
Radiation.
cesium irradiation, basically cesium is the big one, but you have uranium, buckyball, plutonium in there too, is in now hitting the West Coast
Yeah,
officially.
Sure.
That's been going on for 4 or 5, like, but there's no, it's been so hushed and so suppressed.
Well, I
And
believe
now
it was
the
that
first-
first. It's been coming since that first time.
Does that mean one wouldn't want to swim?
Absolutely. I had a young girl who was 32
And that
years
will
old.
happen in California.
She's on the verge of stage 1 cancer. She's a surfer. She surfs 6 out of 7 days out of the week. She didn't want to listen. She said, Doctor, I'm healthy. She says, I eat good. I said, we're reaching a state where you can eat good, exercise, do everything right, and still get sick and die. So we're at a critical mass point. I think that's what Dennis is talking about, that there are maybe some solutions.
And that's what I want to bring to your attention, but I want to give you a foundation of what's going on. So I want you to understand kind of what's happening, what has happened, why we are where we are. Once you got that in your brain, this other stuff is going to stick like glue. So here are the solution sets, basically, that are in phases that I was recommending to the government in order to get with this. First, we were going to locate the corium fragments. and neutralize the radiation using thermography and other advanced classified technology. Now, what that means in essence is that we talked about the fact that we had a meltdown. We experienced an actual China syndrome. As a result of that meltdown, it left little particles and fragments of these fuel rods in the whole trail that it was flowing. As it was flowing down through the first level of containment, through the second level of containment, all of this is poisonous. It's radiating anywhere from 3 to 9 sieverts of radiation. What that means in essence, if you get touched by that energy, you're dead within 45 minutes to an hour. That's what that means, in case you just so you'll have a frame of reference of how dangerous it is.
How deep did the rods penetrate?
Down to the groundwater level, which is about 30, 40 feet, maybe below where the actual facility is. And then it made its way into the Pacific Ocean, and I'll show you a picture of what happens when that goes down. And so phase 2 was we want to demonstrate a way to remediate radioactive waste, water, soil, and the melted fuel rods. In other words, we have the technology, open the door so that we can show you how to use it, and let's get busy because they have mountains of debris. They have 1,340 tanks of radioactive water stored around the facility, and it's growing. I'll put it in those terms. And as a result, we want to show how to eliminate that poison so that it doesn't get back into the environment. Here's what happens. Radiation cannot be contained. Oh, let me just say it again so you understand what I'm saying. Radiation cannot be contained. Why? There is something called the Wigner effect. And what it does in essence is anytime you have these nucleotides radiating all over the place, they are basically stealing electrons from whatever material that's containing them. And eventually it's going to embrittle that material. It's concrete, glass, whether it's lead, you know, the doctors that wear the things and all of a sudden they...
How about airplanes?
Yeah, but the bottom line is that what I'm trying to say is that the Wigner effect destroys all its containers. So the French, they built all these 1,300 tanks of wastewater, hoping, and as a result, it's made out of steel, got some rubber grommets and some bolts holding it all together. But what's going to happen in 5, 6, 7 years? They start to leak. They fall apart. And the whole environment is overtly contaminated. You're going to find that's true with probably all 114 in the country that were built back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. They're probably no good. Now, I'm going to show you data wherein we have to take it into heart what's going on and then protect ourselves accordingly, because I'm not suggesting that Fukushima is responsible for what's going on across the whole of the United States right now. But we have a very high background radiation across the whole of the United States. You can't go to, it's like you can go find a safe place. No. It's in San Diego, it's in Spokane, Washington, it's in Boston, and it's also in Miami, and everything in between. Yes, across the whole hemisphere, probably across the Atlantic. So we went through here, and I told you phase 3 was a plan of action to clean and terraform the whole site of Fukushima. That is very important. This is where some of the stuff that my friend Gunnar has, he's one of those biodynamicists. We've been working together to figure out ways to make soil super intelligent so it can grow plants super fast and make them super healthy and super vital. And we want to apply that technology there as well as every other place on the planet. Phase 4 was to set up radiation clinics. In other words, this is so that we will have a safe haven to go to so that we can balance our system and clean out any residual radiation you might have picked up while walking down the street or walking from your house to the car or whatever. So we're going to basically be planning these radiation clinics and Fukushima so that the workers can work 5 or 6 hours and spend 2 hours in these clinics so they don't take the poison home to their family and children. But we want to also set up hundreds of clinics all across the United States and Europe, South America, wherever we can get them and get permission because we have, in essence, put together technology that is non-invasive and non-toxic using bioscalar resonance to remediate radiation out of our systems, to cure and heal our thyroids, and to restore the circulation of our blood and the epithelial cells inside all of your veins, capillaries, and arteries. In other words, improving your circulation. Once that's happening, we will be able to heal the whole planet, because Fukushima's got to get done. We can't really get started with the Pacific Ocean solution until that's turned off, because right now they're dumping in the neighborhood of 300 tons of radioactive wastewater into the Pacific Ocean on a daily basis. And as a result, that is what's poisoning the Pacific Ocean basin to the full extent. Now, we need to understand that in the first 30 feet of the ocean exist these little microbes called phytoplankton. And this phytoplankton is extremely important because they not only are the foundation of the food chain for the ocean, they're the foundation for generating oxygen for this whole planet. They produce anywhere from 70 to 80% of the oxygen that is in our atmosphere. The trees in our rainforests take care of the other balance. We need about 38% oxygen in our atmosphere in order for us to have a healthy, vibrant life for all who breathe in this particular world. And what has happened, I believe, is that that 300 tons of water that is constantly pouring into the ocean is going to disrupt their life cycle. And as a result, not enough oxygen is going to go into the atmosphere. If I don't get enough oxygen in the atmosphere, that means my ozone level is not going to be at the height of protecting us from cosmic radiation. So if I have low ozone levels, that means we are put at risk even from the cosmic energies from space. Now, remember, we have solutions. Okay? I'm just giving you the physics of what's been happening, what's going on. And what I am looking at, based on what happened in August of this year, there were 323 reindeer in Norway just fell over dead. And of course, mainstream media said, oh, they got struck by lightning. And I looked at the pictures and I noticed that these reindeer were scattered over a wide area. And I said, how in the world did lightning go around and strike all of those reindeer? And I saw some of them were right in their footprint and their eyes were still open. And I looked at their fur, I didn't see no burns or anything like you would think you would get whenever you see lightning strike. So I put on my thinking cap to figure out what in the world happened here. And what I'm basically finding out, I just something said, Dennis, see if you can find out what the ozone layers, the ozone levels were over that area on that day. It just so happens on the internet, somebody's got that information. And I said, oh man, look at here. The ozone normally is around 300 Dobson units, they call it, dBs. And these Dobson units for a healthy ozone layer is around 300. When these reindeer got struck, it was somewhere between 100 and 150, half of what it should be. And so what's happening is when gamma rays come down through that little hole in the ozone, and you got a high background radiation, which Norway, Finland, Denmark have because of Chernobyl, and Chernobyl is rearing its ugly head again. I know because I've been hearing the Russians have heard about my plan of action and they want to participate on a big scale. And I'm saying, cool. But what has happened in essence is those gamma rays are like, almost like, not quite, almost like scalar. They enhance everything they touch. They enhance your DNA. But if you happen to have a high background radiation, it enhances that. And what happens is you got unstable nucleotides that are enhanced, and they want to get stable. And where are they going to find the energy? You got lots of energy in your brain. You got lots of energy in your nervous system. So immediately it goes and glums onto that. And what happens is it gets overloaded, and it's like a switch. Boom.
Gamma rays hit them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's in the light spectrum.
And how many was it?
323.
And this was in which?
Norway.
Okay.
It's right on up there where the Arctic Circle is.
Okay.
And I'm saying, why wasn't there enough oxygen? I have to go back to the ocean and say, what are you doing to us here? I need more oxygen.
Right.
And as a result of not getting enough oxygen, that means my ozone layer is not going to be as strong as it should be. Now, what I did more research, and I found out the same thing is happening in Kazakhstan, Russia, to the Sega antelope. Thousands of them just fall over dead. I also found the same problem in Alaska, in the northern part, on the western Arctic caribou. Their herds are down by about 52%. So I'm saying that this is the beginning of what they call the circle of death. And if we don't get enough oxygen going up into the upper atmosphere to keep our ozone layer at the proper levels, that means that thing can grow all over Canada, all over the United States, all over America, and then you'll see things like, what, thousands of blackbirds falling out of the sky? Remember that a couple of years ago?
Yeah, was Louisiana?
Yeah, I forgot exactly where, but they had thousands of blackbirds just all over the place. And anytime you have irritation in your system, that could lead to a cancerous situation. Yes.
You might want to check also on that date, because we're in a stream of high, low sunspot activity, but high solar storm activity. When solar storm activity is very high in the sun, you get a major blast of gamma radiation as opposed to X-ray. So
yes.
it could be that also, and the northern hemisphere also carries satellite debris field and Fukushima radiation that is in the upper atmosphere and comes down in the all those areas are the northern hemisphere way high up. In fact, we're experiencing right now in the last 4 or 5 days plutonium coming down from the Arctic vortex. Whenever that happens, the radiation even hits down in Hawaii. Just checks the people out of Hawaii. They get it over there.
Mm-hmm.
So all these factors, not just one, but when the combination factors just turn out just right, like you said, the whole system just shut. Kidneys, heart, everything just shut. And just think about all the people that have died recently in the last 4 or 5 days, that are, and even the last year.
When I was talking about the European royals found interest in this project, and one of the things they said, if we do this for you, you got to do Europe too. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. We could do Europe. And he said, well, the main problem was they're experiencing something called IDS, instant death syndrome. People are walking down the street, boom. People are driving their car, boom. And as a result, they don't want that to go public. The last phase of this project has to do with, we got to come up with a whole new system of generating power for our municipalities. And we have that. I've talked to another hyper genius up in Colorado, Gary Bear and his team, the Living Vertus system, using plasma to generate all the power we want, and at the same time being able to clean up water, and at the same time being able to create higher than organic food. What I'm saying is creating an environment where we grow high-level vital foods in an environment that's suitable for them, all supplied by this energy that is going to be in excess for feeding a whole neighborhood, a whole industry, or whatever. So that technology already exists. All we have to do now is just get this thing funded so that we can start. We want to build our first one right here in Redondo Beach. There's an electrical power company there that went defunct. We want to purchase that land and get this Vertus Living system set up, and then that'll be a demonstration hopefully for Japan so that we can replace all those nuclear power plants. Now we also have at our disposal technology put together by another hyper genius. He's been really difficult to work with. Oh, makes me shiver. But anyway, he calls it an AST compound. Now what this AST compound is like a gel. You put a few drops in water and the water starts to boil and creates steam. And as a result, no radioactive byproducts. So what does that mean in essence? If I can convince them to get rid of these fuel rods, and let's just set up a computerized dosing system so that we can boil water. That's all we're doing, boiling water, creating steam, and pushing turbines. And I can do that without any radioactive waste or byproducts. Wouldn't that be the way to go? While we figure out another way to just totally get rid of that? It's a mineral blend. very, very special mineral blend. Where do we get it? No, it's not rare. It's just that it's not known by the general public yet. Time will tell, because I'm going to spread the word as quickly as I can, because I want this to be the replacement for these fuel rods. I want to get rid of radiation completely across the whole planet. That's my dream. And so what I wanted to just let you know is that we're working along those lines as well. So these are the main places or the main ideas that we want to instill into the minds of governments, to the population. We have to work this thing from the grassroots up so that you can influence your politicians on what's really important, but you need to know. You now have an idea, so we can move to the next step with greater ease. So what I basically found out is that as a result of what happened here in Fukushima, a lot of concentrated corium and debris ended up, after a few years, way out here in this Japanese trench. And that's, again, poisoning the ocean. We've got to shut it down. It's about 3 or 4 miles down. That's got to get cleaned up. We have a way to do it, but we just got to get access. We're going to need the military to help us, but there is a way for it to be done. This is a reactor. This is what it looks like when it goes through a meltdown process. The fuel rods are here, and then they just melt, go down to the bottom, and these temperatures can be around 5,000 degrees. I don't think too many things in our world can withstand 5,000 degrees without breaking down and going through, and that's what happened in essence. This right here is an actual picture I found of the corium. This was taken by a robot before it fell apart. It only lasted about 20, 25 minutes before it went south. But this is what an actual corium, this has been cooled by water, of course, but if you go in and hammer on this, if you go and drill on this, because remember, there's metal in here, there is all kinds of other things where this stuff is harder than concrete, and if you hammer or drill into this, it can turn into lava again. So we've got to come up with a strategy to corral this corium so that it doesn't go critical anymore. Understand how intense the challenge is? And so we've got to go ahead and just solve that challenge. Now, luckily this year, these 3 gentlemen were indicted around February the 29th of this year for holding back all the information that I'm kind of like sharing with you now. And these 3 are going to the courts, and as a result of that, we're hoping to get all of the other information that has been hidden, because we've got to go and do a more complete engineering survey so that we know the truth of what has happened, to what extent it has happened, so that we can engineer a project plan based on the truth of what's happening as opposed to the propaganda we've been given. Following me? Yes. All right. So, boy, am I clear or what? Now, the other part of the solution is this brilliant lady here. She's come up with some microbes that can live in a radioactive environment and can consume radioactive components. So we're going to be talking to her in addition to, this is part of the terraforming, and we want to use these microbes to hopefully go after the trail of the corium as it went through the China Syndrome and ended up in the ocean. We want the microbes to clean that up for us. And they will multiply themselves as long as there is a food source, and then go dormant once it is complete. And, oh, no more food? Okay, I'll go to sleep. That's probably in the species we call the archaea. And that is, these guys have been set up in a way where they don't have DNA, they have RNA, and they happen to copy everything in nature such that they will fix and repair everything that they touch. Judy Wall of the university, she's been working on this. We want to definitely tie into her and make sure we can use some of her gifts and talents, because, like I said, we have to solve these problems strategically. I don't want to accidentally shut down the power plant and somebody's at a hospital and they got on the respirator and where's my power? I can't breathe. That's a serious problem. So we got to be very careful how we look at every single situation and have a tool in our toolbox to go after the solution. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. So we're looking at it from that standpoint. Now, just to kind of give you an idea, here is Fukushima, Japan. Here is the North Pacific and the South Pacific. Here's the United States. And you can see this is where the most of the debris is residing. And you can see how the currents are flowing. And as a result, we had a major problem in August of last year with over 1 million salmon dying or in the process of dying. And I believe it again, they had been singed by the radiation coming from this problem over here in Fukushima. And we need to understand that. Now, what I'm going to say may hurt somebody's feelings, but you don't want to be eating Pacific-based salmon.
Right. Wild caught or you don't eat?
I'm talking about any kind of cod. Just don't gurp. Now, I'm going to tell you something a little gross. I was out with a close friend last Thursday at an upscale restaurant, and she ordered salmon. I immediately pulled out one of my quantum cards and put it under her plate. And just something told me to do that. As she was enjoying her salmon, there was a bloody cancerous tumor in the midst of it. Of course, that ruined my meal, ruined her totally, completely. So I'm just saying, and we both agreed, this is not something we want to do. It's just not cool in today's way things are working in today's world. And that was my own personal experience saying, I know I've been saying it and looking at pictures, but when you have the actual experience, the grossness.
It looked like a tumor, actually?
No, it was just bloody. It wasn't salmon. It was something else in the salmon. No. We showed it to management. Yeah, forget it, yes. So, this is to kind of give you an idea of how this flows. And most people know that there's a gigantic trash or debris field in the middle of the ocean with plastic bottles and all kinds of radioactive debris that came from here. And we've got to find a way to fix that because there's a lot of radioactivity going on there that's trapped. And that's what's affecting our friends in Hawaii and other islands off of the north and the south and Australia are all being impacted by this. So what we want to do is to remediate it. Yeah, in other words, I was telling you about my nuclear remediation mineral blend. That's the formula that will allow me to strategically clean up radiation in about 72 hours. About 3 days, we can get the radiation to be remediated, okay? And as a result, that's what we want to use such that we don't cause any problems in the environment by using the hydrogen. Now, the hydrogen, I want to put those on smart buoys. And these smart buoys is where we will just log in the latitude and the longitude, set it out, and that buoy will find its space and hover out there and radiate the frequency of hydrogen into the phytoplankton's home, into the atmosphere, and clean that area. And then we can do wide swaths. Like I said, I need the military to be aware of that so they don't have their nuclear submarines flowing around there and all of a sudden that could be a challenge. So once we understand that, we are good. Now this is the guy's name, by the way. His name was Peter Shastri, a gifted, I call, industrial chemist. He's a hyper genius. And, as a result, this product was taken over to Fukushima at the Kawamata Labs. And we thought this in 2013, they would jump on this. But because of special interests, they shut it down, just pushed it away. I said, is profit that much more valuable than life itself? And I'm saying, obviously on this planet, I can't imagine that in any other universe. But anyway, we tested it and they went for about 43, the soil that they tested was at around 107.5 millirads per hour. And after about 33 hours of the 72 that you need, it went down to 43.3. So that was a great change. That was showing us it was working. And then I guess funds ran out and they couldn't go to a whole 72 hours. But nonetheless, it was proving that it was effective. This happens to be the actual test data sheets signed off by the technicians that signed off on it. And here's the results of what they found as a result. So the product does exist. In the Fukushima area, remember reactors 1, 2, 3, and 4, all of these little tanks, radioactive wastewater. Okay, got an idea of how big the problem is over there. Here is a debris field, all that's radioactive. Okay, and this is really as far as the eye can see. The camera just can't get it all, so to speak. You see these are basically plastic bags. What did we learn about the Wigner effect? It's not going to last long. As a result, a little wind comes by and it's all over the place. So what has happened here, just so you know, it was September of last year, there was a cyclone that went through Fukushima. One of those 300-ton tanks collapsed. Radioactive water washed over the whole area. They lost several hundred of these bags. As a result, they went looking for them and all they could find was the plastic. So what do you think happened to that environment? And I've been watching and listening very closely what the farmers are saying. And the radiation, just because you're close by, it could be low where it's close by, but further away, it could be high. And that's exactly what's happening with their rice and their tea and things like that. They're measuring it and they're finding their foods are poisoned. And of course, that puts you in tears. All that work, all that growing, and you get it tested and it's messed up. So this is just another picture of the debris field over there. And you can see it is full and it is constantly growing. So what we want to do in essence right now is to just get you into the field or the understanding of what can we do to protect ourselves, because obviously this is flowing into one of the largest oceans on the planet. It's producing an enormous amount of oxygen for our fish world and the cetacean world, as well as our atmosphere. And as a result, it's all being poisoned. The site is putting radiation into the air as well as into the ground and into the water. So we're being hit from all sides. Now, what can we do to protect ourselves? Well, a lot of experience was learned from Chernobyl. And the Russians put a lot of resources behind their scientists to come up with solutions. One of the solutions they found was something called a biosuperfood. And this was put together by a Dr. Michael Kuriak. And they have it in 3 strengths. They call F1, 2, and 3. And this has been known to remediate radiation out of your system. It is made from 4 different species of spirulina. And it took them going through 25,000 species of spirulina to come up with the 4 that would work synergistically in order to remediate radiation out of biological systems. This guy got an international award for his discovery, him and his team. And as a result of that discovery, all of their livestock were given this, as well as the people. So it was extremely helpful. And if you can look this up on the internet, that you get this biosuperfoods, F1, 2, and 3. I suggest you start out with 3, just because I know what's going on out there. You go with F3. That would be a good thing to do. And like I said, Dr. Michael Kuriak, he was a PhD and a naturopathic doctor in Russia. Okay, and he was award-winning, formerly saved livestock and people in Russia and Europe from radiation poisoning. Okay, so what has happened in essence is that we are indirectly related to radiation coming from Fukushima. That's especially with us people on the West Coast, from all the way from Alaska all the way down into South America. Everybody needs to be on alert and understand what they need in order to protect themselves. One of the products that I also found that also came as a result of experience from Chernobyl was a Folium PX. Barbary Orin is the main world distributor for this particular product, Folium PX. And this right here is very, very good. Sometimes you will know that you are touched with radiation if you feel numbness in your fingertips, numbness in your toes or your feet.
Neuropathy? Could neuropathy be related to this?
In some cases, yes. But also, the thing that also you need to understand is that sometimes you may have excessive bleeding gums. And whenever you do everything you possibly can and the bleeding just won't stop, chances are you may have a little bit breathed in too much radiation, and that's causing your gums to become a little too extra soft. Now, also, it has a tendency to make the inner lining of the veins, capillaries, and arteries rough because the radiation just breaks everything down. It's totally antagonistic to creation itself in everything that it touches. So this right here repairs all this, as well as gets rid of a lot of other heavy metals that might be in your system. This is also, I've watched and studied some of the clinicals on this, and this gets rid of mercury poisoning, as well as lead poisoning, cadmium poisoning, arsenic poisoning, as well as radiation. So this is something very important to just have in your medicine cabinet, in your shelf, an extra nutrient. I find this to be really effective if you just take the capsules and break them open and stir it and drink it down. The other thing that I want to bring into you, remember I was telling you about the fact we want to build clinics. There's something called the EE system. It's a bioscalar technology developed by Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. She lives up in the Vegas area. She also has a home, I believe, in the Hawaiian area. And she was the developer of this technology. She started building these things way back in the 70s. And I've seen, experienced this, and it is amazing in that it builds these bioscalar fields which act like fusion reactors for building what you might call hydrogen ions. And what is our DNA made of? Hydrogen and connections and ions. And as a result, it's actually repairing damaged DNA. And all you do is sit and relax, meditate. I don't need to pump you, make you take your clothes off, and do all these other toxic things that normally happen in a situation like this. You just sit back and relax and enjoy and heal. This is the cornerstone of the clinics I want to put together. And this is what we want to do in order to get people working in the toxic field, as well as their family, their friends, and relatives. Everybody needs to have access to this. And I'm planning to put 24-stack systems, which have been known to even cure scar tissue from surgery out of your body, and flatten that out. And also, this is very, very good for cleaning things out of the body like candida and diabetes and things of that sort, eye problems and all that other stuff. Also kind of just fades away nicely. And the reason is, I'm not going to say this is doing it, it's because your body system's intelligence is raised to a level where all those things just fall away. Okay? Are we hearing me? Oh, you understand the words coming out of my mouth?
The new Starbucks.
Okay, yes. The new Starbucks, yes. Instead of serving coffee, I'm serving you bioscalar energy. Yay! What I also want to add, of course, is high-tech, fifth-dimensional diagnostic technology. Again, I can just look at your energy field and determine how toxic are you from this environment. And we can just give you that information just by your hand being scanned. Or we just put a little clip on your fingertip and measure your heart arrhythmias. And Dr. Luba Diangar, she has technology that will also figure out how much inflammation is in your system and give you feedback. Now you can take that information and understand your progress as you go through the clinics over time. Now this is a whole different paradigm than what we're used to, wherein we are in essence installing health instead of managing disease.
Yes.
Yay! That's where we need to go for the future. We want to set this system up so that we are managing and maintaining your health as opposed to just managing your symptoms and dis-ease. And if with that, we want to use technology called a cyber scan.
Oh my goodness.
I met the inventor. He's from Germany. Brilliant dude. And I mean, he's got like over 2,500 libraries of rates in his cyber scan technology. Dieter. This is what the technology looks like. All you do is put your hand on this plate right here. 10 seconds, it scans and gives you hundreds of markers of what's going on inside your mind, your body, and your spirit. This is high-level fifth-dimensional technology. This is not going to be running around in a 3D with an oscilloscope and a voltmeter trying to figure out what's going on. This is totally on another level. This is where the future is going, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? This is the technology we're talking about, the 3D Pro body scan technology, Dr. Luba Diangar. This is where we just simply put a little clip, and she worked with NASA scientists, and as a result, she worked in life support systems on the space station and the space shuttle and stuff like that. And as a result, she's taken some of the software that she worked on and adapted to this so that we can do diagnostic work without being invasive. Very, very good, very, very futuristic. I want to say that because we are going to step into a whole new paradigm. That is the idea. That's the dream. And so as a result of these full 3D body assessment systems, and now it generates a 3D dynamic body model. It gives visual representations of major organs in your system, what's going on, any inflammation, and then the other technology can quiet that inflammation once we find it. Calculates accurate acid-base status, or pH, making sure the pH is balanced. We learned about that today, how important that is, the pH balance of the body. And also, it also talks about diabetes, renal disorders, kidneys, prostate disorders, thyroid, because that's what radiation goes after and disrupts one way or another. And then, of course, we want to measure and calculate all your cardiovascular parameters, too. All done in this kind of technology.
Is this available to the general public yet?
Yes.
Where?
Where?
The name, Dr. Luba Diangar in Huntington Beach. She's the one that's going to be utilizing and is presently utilizing that technology. You can probably find her on the internet. Google her. And this is very, very important technology, especially because we want to quickly get people in and out. We want to take this information can be found within a matter of a minute or two, and then you can go sit in the system. And we're going to have other technologies. We're going to have beamer technology. All right. That's another very advanced healing modality, wherein it uses bioscalar energies for restoring and regenerating the energy flows in the body and improving circulation. We're planning to use sound-based technology, cymatics. Again, you just put your feet on these pads, and we can find out from our diagnostics what frequencies would be most beneficial, and they just run through your feet into your body, and you just come and maintain your health. I'm not managing your disease. Does that make sense? Yes. That's the kind of clinic that we want to put together for all concerned on a global scale. Now, as we go through this process here, we strongly recommend to never, ever use nuclear power again. Does that make sense to everybody? That's where we've got to go. And as a result, I believe we have the technology to make that happen now. We just need the special interests to step aside. Let's pay those guys off, and let's move on with the proper protocols for saving our life. I get the feeling planet Earth's going to be just fine. But humanity, stressing. Okay, so what I want to do next, I guess, is just kind of give you an idea. This is what a Pacific Ocean looks like when it's boiling from too much radiation. That is not a good picture, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I promised I would show you. This is right outside of Fukushima. This was taken around August of 2013. And this is as a result of those coriums fragmenting and moving into the Pacific Ocean. This is the trail that's being left. And you know that's going to compromise the life in that water and compromise the living organisms that are in that water. So this is the outcome of that. This is salmon. This is in Canadians have been eating radioactive fish filled with bloody cancerous tumors. Ugh. I actually had to see one. I don't want to do that ever again. And what has happened, they know they got the problem. They've been trying to solve it, but I really question their engineering, because what they were trying to do was set up a freeze wall around this place so they could freeze the water and hopefully contain it in a freeze. And I'm saying, wait a minute, but this is hot water. How do you freeze hot water? I'm just saying that didn't make sense when I heard it, and they found out it didn't work. They know now. And as a result, this is where the 300 tons of contaminated water flows into the ocean on a daily basis. And this is what we got to protect ourselves from, because this is going, remember the picture where you show how the currents of the ocean, it's going in all those places. And we got to be aware of that. And of course, come up with technology to clean it. But I have ideas to do it. Just need all my funds in place so that we can go make it happen. Yes? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is kind of thing that fish that have been contaminated, this is not a good thing. This is another situation. Dana Dunford, he's been going up and down the West Coast, and he's not finding these herrings, these things. And this is why the seals are washing up on the shore and having issues, and their little pups can't be fed as a result. This picture right here, remember the thing they said? Sharks don't get cancer. But this was a picture taken down in the Barrier Reef in Australia. And that's not right, ladies and gentlemen. That's messed up.
Because sharks are human actors.
Oh, something like that. This is a starfish, or it's supposed to be. Well, I don't know what was happening to this one, but normally starfish have 5 legs, not 18. Okay? Yeah. And this is a seal that has been floating through the ocean, and you can see he's a little bit burnt. And the same thing with the polar bears. They're having a hard time. Their fur is falling off. And this is all the way up in Alaska. And so as a result, TEPCO has made a measurement, and they found out that they could measure somewhere between 9.4 sieverts outside the reactor of vessel number 2. They have been having cranes trying to keep it cool, and the cranes are falling apart. Robots are falling apart. Nothing can survive this level of energy. Okay? And so what we want to do is just simply be aware and simply be careful of where you buy seafood and how you consume seafood. Be very careful. Okay? Do I need to say more? Now, let me just kind of give you an idea of what's going on around the United States of America. This right here is put out usually on a monthly basis, this report that I'm getting ready to show you. This particular report that I'm going to show you was as of December 3rd to the 17th of this month. And normally the background radiation is between 5 and 20 counts per minute. That's just what comes down through our atmosphere, and what they will measure on a dosimeter or a Geiger counter, somewhere between 5 and 20 counts per minute. And what they have found in essence from December 3rd to the 17th, in Raleigh, North Carolina, they have found in essence that was the #1 highest level of radiation measured in the United States between December 3rd and the 17th. The second one measurement was from Denver, Colorado. Now, they were measuring 1,963 counts per minute. That's 392 above normal. Yes, in other words, if we have 5 as the basic count, of what normal is, or this was 392, and that's in Raleigh, North Carolina. In Denver, Colorado, it was about 1,911, about 382 above normal. So this is why you need the Folium PX. This is why you need the bio superfoods. F3, remember? They got 1, F2, and F3. I'm suggesting F3. Okay, highly recommending it. And I just wanted to let you know about 65 cities reported this month. Normally it's in the 40s, but it's going up instead of down as far as the number of cities that are reporting what's going on in their particular area. So you just saw basically what is going on, and you see all of these are just the ones that are above 1,000. You should be evacuated when it's 300.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is 1,200.
But like I'm saying, I'm not attributing all of this to Fukushima. I'm saying that, huh?
Are they fracking in these areas too?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I'm sure they have been doing some of that all over the country.
Are they measuring it in the atmosphere or in the air?
Yeah,
At ground
In essence,
level in
at
different
ground.
cities across the United States.
right. So Los Angeles, you saw here, is around 1121. So that's why I'm stressing that it's important to be on this Folium PX and the bio superfoods. I want to stress that, yes.
If we were evacuated, what type of situation would that be?
It's really hopeless. When you got where would you go?
That's what I'm wondering.
So we just got to fix it right now, and get on board with the idea that a solution needs to be in hand yesterday. We got solutions, it's just that the special interests are inhibiting our progress. And we want to let everybody know so that you can talk to your politicians and everybody else, and let's see if we can wear them down.
They don't have a place.
No, they are being given bad information just as much as everybody else. It's called fake news. I'm not sure everybody heard about fake news, right? It's all over the place. Now, the other thing, remember we were talking about the phytoplankton in the ocean? Now, let's just briefly talk about the trees in California. And on the 22nd of November, the Forestry Service did a survey, and they found 120 million dead trees. That's just in California. Now, I'm going to say that that's probably not all attributed to radiation, but is definitely a contributing factor. Some of this could be drought related. But nonetheless, if this was to catch on fire and we got radiation in it, inside of these trees where they've absorbed any water that they got and it was radioactive, that's going to be a super fire, a super hot fire. That was going to be very different than the other fires that we've experienced. Now, remember the last time we had a giant firestorm here in this area, and the firemen were complaining about, I've never seen anything like this in my life. They were looking at the effects of what happens once you absorb radioactivity. And these microscopic metals, they burn very hot. And you get tornadoes, you get extra heat that you normally would not get from the wood, and as a result, it can combust things at a distance. It doesn't necessarily have to have the flame just go over and touch it. Because of its radiance, that's what's going on, and that's what would happen here.
Does it spread the radiation when it burns?
Yes.
So it doesn't burn it up, it sends it
It just sends it out in smaller particulates that get deeper into our lung system.
Been treating fires for 20 years and radiation for 25. And whenever there's a big fire in Southern California, Malibu fire, whatever fire you're looking at right now, you get a massive amounts of heart attacks that occur. And people
what?
die. Heart attacks occur when there's fires because of the pollution in the air. The greatest death rate is caused by pollution in the air. Pollution is everywhere, and you have to take, we're going to figure out with meetings like this what you can do. So, I mean, I know what's going on. I can measure, but we don't have technologies to measure in real time the poison that's in our environment. In the last 3 weeks, you got poisoned by mercury from coal burning from India and China coming in from the polar vortex. And there's a satellite debris field that's dropping down with plutonium that exploded in 2008 and almost killed me about 8 years ago now. And within that period of 2 weeks, I just talked to the granddaughter whose mother, there were 30 grandmothers that died within 2 months of the Fukushima explosion. And a satellite explosion also that occurred also around 2008 or somewhere around there. In 2011 was Fukushima. So these environmental pollutants that Dennis is talking about are impacting you every day, but you have no way of knowing this. You have no way of knowing.
But you were smart enough to come here. And as a result, you now have an idea of what you can do in order to get some sort of protection for your mind, body, spirit, and hopefully you'll pass this knowledge on to your family and friends. Yes?
Can iodine help or sea kelp help detoxify?
I don't know about sea kelp, but iodine is definitely helpful. Right now, even kelp is having a hard time staying in the ocean. It's detaching itself, and I'm finding it washing up on beaches more than staying in the ocean. They even have it. Down in Orange County, thousands and thousands of crustaceans are crawling up on the beaches and dying. And that is been going on, but it just gets a little, usually in a magazine. I don't see it in the newspapers.
Let me add to that, because it's a very important question, because Dr. Brownstein is very famous for iodine intake to protect the thymus, potassium iodine. So after Fukushima happened, or after Chernobyl, I was telling Dennis to say, after Chernobyl happened, within 6 months of Chernobyl, you get reactive iodine from nuclear fission. Everybody within a 500-mile, this comes from my top nuclear expert, within a 500-mile radius of Chernobyl develop an allergy to iodine. When you develop an allergy to iodine, even if you take iodine, it doesn't go in, it doesn't work, it doesn't protect you anymore. So the problem that came in is we had some radioactive iodine follow-up about 2 months ago. Within 3 weeks, everybody did not absorb and metabolize iodine effectively. So it's really not, it's a really difficult situation because you can have the best supplements, the best nutrients, the best homeopathy, and may not get in and may not work.
Well, this is where the bioscalar technology will be helpful because it will clean out those receptor sites so that we can heal. That's what we want to get back to and understand. We do have a solution, even for the fact that this is going on. That's the thing. Now, don't run out of here with your hair on fire. Oh, we're going to die. We're going to die. No. Please understand that. We got a solution. We just got to get it implemented. Okay? This is not a fear porn show here. Okay? So bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, time is critical. We need your support. We need you to talk to your friends, your family, your politicians. Let them know what you know. This crazy guy named Dennis told me this, and as a result, we need to get something done now. Give him all the help and support necessary. I need the military. I need every country on this planet involved with the solutions that I'm proposing. I need the White House. Oh, God, that's going to be a challenge. But nonetheless, oh, Lord, that's going to be a challenge. I can feel it in my bones. But nonetheless, we need their help. We need the military. And as a result, I believe we can get this resolved and everyone can live happily ever after. My dream is that we now create paradise on earth. And that is my hardcore expression coming out of my heart into this environment. So I want that same vibration to come out of your heart into this environment, and it can't help but manifest. The quantum field is duty-bound to create it for us. Don't let me put on my quantum physics hat. Oh, we're going into another 4-hour talk, but yeah, it's quantum physics. By the way, I did bring some of my quantum technology. By the way, I do have solutions for nullifying the harmful effects of radiation going in and out of your cell phones. I have technology for geopathic stress in and around your home. I have technologies for restructuring the water flowing through your house and things of that sort. So you can talk to me after. I'll be more than glad to share. I am Dennis Watts. Right now, I've been working with maybe 3 corporations to try to get this thing done. And right now, I'm at Rejuvenation Environmental Corporation. I'm based out of Torrance. Here's my phone number, and here's my email address if you want to talk to me. And I'll be more than glad to listen to any ideas you have. I am looking for multiple streams of income because this is a multi-billion-dollar / possibly trillion-dollar event that's going on, because this is not happening just in Fukushima. It's just starting there, but this is something that has to go on a global scale, and we are going to heal the whole environment. When I'm talking about that, we also have solutions for climate change. We have solutions for what we believe is the problem for that, and we want to implement those solutions as part of the solution set. We now know and understand that our farmland, which is equivalent to the whole land mass of South America and Africa put together, have been sprayed with Roundup Ready, has been sprayed with glycophosphates, have been sprayed with petroleum-based fertilizers, and we have basically killed the little microbes called hygienotropes in the soil. Those were put here by God to absorb carbon out of the atmosphere, but we've been killing them. So as a result, it can't work like God intended. If we can work in concert with creation, we can heal the process. Is that overtly complicated? No. So we can get that part done too. I would suggest no seafood at this time until we can get a handle, because it's just too dangerous and too toxic. Right now, as we see it, and the reports we've been getting from Dana Dunford, he can hardly find oysters and shellfish. And oysters and shellfish are very, very important for cleansing and purifying the water. The water chemistry has changed. They can't make a shell. As a result, that makes life difficult for all concerned, including the phytoplankton. So is everybody cool right now? I am through. I am complete. Thank you.